Welcome to This Explainer. Have you ever had to make a really tough choice where the stakes were just impossibly high? Well, today we're unpacking a remarkably dense piece of text that deals with exactly that. We're going to set the stage for a massive philosophical clash about human agency, responsibility, and destiny, all hidden within a very brief, ancient dialogue. We'll be looking at how leaders make choices, how they justify them, and that timeless tension between free will and destiny. I want to hook you immediately with this profound dilemma. Just imagine this scenario for a second. If a decision could literally destroy your entire race, would you still make it if you truly believed it was your fate? I know, it sounds like an extreme hypothetical, right? But this is the exact high-stakes situation facing King Dhritarashtra, as narrated by the ancient storyteller Vyasampayana in our source material. The tension between knowing the catastrophic risks and yet feeling totally compelled by an unseen destiny is at the absolute heart of our exploration today. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The Fateful Command. We enter the narrative exactly at the moment when King Dhritarashtra is making a pivotal, history-altering decision regarding a match at dice. Our source text establishes right away that the king is moving forward with an action under the steadfast belief that fate simply cannot be avoided. The narrator explicitly tells us that the king acts knowing that fate is inevitable. And this is absolutely crucial for understanding his mindset. He isn't making a choice while believing he has a wide variety of viable options. Instead, he's operating under the heavy, absolute assumption that the path forward is already written in stone. Section 2. Vidura's dire warning. But of course, not everyone in the room agrees with this passive acceptance of the future. We're introduced to the completely opposite viewpoint through Vidura. Now, Vidura is explicitly noted by the narrator as the foremost of intelligent men. And honestly, when an ancient text points out someone's intelligence that directly, it's basically the author's way of saying, hey, listen up. Vidura definitely doesn't mince words. He lays out terrifying, literal life or death stakes for the king. He warns, I fear, this will bring about the destruction of our race. He is challenging the king's command with intense pragmatism and incredible foresight, completely rejecting the whole idea of just letting things happen. And he forces the king to confront the absolute worst-case scenario. Now, what's really interesting here is how systematically Vidura breaks down the future. His deep intelligence really shines through his precise, logical sequence of cause and effect. He doesn't just make a vague prediction of doom, he actually shows his work. Step 1, the match at dice happens. Step 2, this leads directly to a loss of unity among the sons. Step 3, because of that lost unity, dissension inevitably ensues. And finally, step 4, the complete destruction of the race. It's a chillingly clear, rational chain reaction. And because he sees this chain reaction so clearly, Vidura makes a direct, actionable plea. He tells the king plain and simple, I approve not, O king, of this command of thine. Do not act so. Vidura firmly believes that humans absolutely have the power to change course. He believes that by simply choosing not to act, by actually exercising free will, the king can break the chain of events and avoid total self-destruction. Section 3. The illusion of free will. So how does a leader respond to perfectly rational evidence that their actions are going to lead to complete disaster? Well, this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast between two entirely different worldviews colliding in a single moment. On one side, we have Vidura's pragmatism, actively shouting, do not act so, practically begging for human agency and intervention. On the other side, we have Dhritarashtra's fatalism, insisting to the universe that it is not free. The king counters actionable life-saving advice with this unyielding, completely passive fatalism. Let's unpack the exact definition of fate as King Dhritarashtra describes it in the text, to justify his actions. He states, the whole universe moveth at the will of its creator, under the controlling influence of fate. Notice how perfectly, and honestly, how conveniently, he shifts the entire burden of his decision onto a creator and a controlling universal influence. In his mind, he isn't actually making a poor choice. He's just yielding to the mechanics of the cosmos. He actually takes this logic a step further, revealing a pretty fascinating psychological mechanism for dealing with the impending disaster. He says, if fate be not hostile, this quarrel will not certainly grieve me. This is such a profound way to just surrender his own agency over the outcome. He's essentially convinced himself that as long as fate isn't fundamentally against him, the impending quarrel won't cause him personal grief. It's kind of the ancient equivalent of shrugging your shoulders and saying, well, it is what it is, effectively washing his hands of a terrible decision and totally insulating himself from the guilt of what's to come. Let's move to and see how this builds. Section 4. The final summons. This is the exact moment of irreversible action, the direct result of this intense clash of philosophical perspectives. Having fully embraced his fatalistic worldview, the king issues his ultimate command. He tells Vidura to go summon their rival, King Yudhishthira, who is referred to here as the invincible son of Kunti. The dramatic irony here is just incredibly thick. Dhritarashtra is commanding Vidura himself, the very man who literally just logically proved this action would destroy their race, to be the one who sets it in motion. He forces the ultimate pragmatist to become the literal messenger of fate, locking in the catastrophic match at dice. Let's quickly summarize the key takeaways from this brief but incredibly dense text and really absorb this crazy cascade of failures. First, a highly risky decision is made based merely on someone's inclination. Second, a pragmatic, step-by-step warning of absolute destruction is completely ignored by leadership. Third, the blame and responsibility for the future are shifted entirely away from the self and squarely onto the creator and fate. And finally, the irreversible summons is issued. This text perfectly maps that timeless, universal human struggle between taking personal responsibility for our actions and yielding to the comforting, yet super dangerous arms of fatalism.
Which brings us to a final thought to leave you with today. This ancient justification forces us to take a hard look in the mirror at how we operate in our modern lives. Are we truly under the controlling influence of fate, or is fate just a convenient excuse we use to avoid responsibility for our own difficult choices? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the text and definitely keep questioning the choices we make.